Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome. I'm Cooper Naylor, and I am so glad that you could join us here tonight. And so it is fun because we get to talk about our March Madness brackets, and I got Colton here with me. So, Colton, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
It's nice to have you back. And I think the last time you joined me was the New Year's Eve special.
Yep. 3 months ago.
So, as you can see, this is the first video we've done from this studio area in quite a while. So, if the lighting is a little bit bright, it's because we're still trying to readjust things. So, bear with us.
A little orange.
Yeah, we we don't even look real, to be fair. So, yeah.
We look orange.
Yeah, we do. Either way, so here's what we're going to do tonight. We are going to look through our brackets and see how we did. Now, granted that we have a paper bracket that we've done, which is what we're going to be going through, and then we also have the ESPN Tournament Challenge bracket, which we're not going to touch on.
Yeah.
But
Didn't take that one seriously.
Yeah, that one's more of a fun bracket.
Just a practice bracket.
Yeah. But either way, also something I did, we're going to have slides where you can see both of our brackets. So mine is on here first. So let's go ahead and look at my bracket. And hopefully you can read this. This is literally where I took my iPhone and I scanned it in. And so, as you can see, so if you want to start up in the South region, I had Auburn and Louisville playing in the second round. That, of course, didn't happen. I mean, Auburn won. Louisville didn't. Louisville, they got their butts spanked by Creighton.
Spanked.
I mean, literally, though. I mean, it was not good.
Okay.
And then Michigan, Texas A&M, I got that right. And then you had, for some reason, I picked North Carolina to beat Ole Miss. And I had them going up against Iowa State. Of course, Iowa State made it. But then I had New Mexico and Michigan State. So in that region, I only missed, for second round matchups, I missed two, which is I thought North Carolina was going to beat Ole Miss, and I thought Louisville would beat Creighton. So your thoughts on the South region so far of what my bracket looked like?
Well, I'm not going to say it looks bad because I've seen much worse. But, I mean, there's certain games that were very obvious that you missed. But it's not really. I mean, first round you're gonna miss a few,
Right.
But it's really the second round you got to figure out because second round's a lot harder. But I don't think you did bad, at least with that region.
All right, moving on to the West region, I had Florida playing UConn, Colorado State playing Maryland. I had Missouri taking on Texas Tech, and I had Arkansas taking on St. John's. Overall, for that region, I only missed one, and that is I didn't have Drake beating Missouri. So, didn't think that region was too bad.
You did better than me on this one.
Okay. And then we'll talk about who we had go into the Sweet 16 in a moment. But East region, I had Duke against Arizona. That's Sweet 16. I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. But I had Duke and Mississippi State playing against each other. Oregon and Arizona. VCU and Wisconsin. Vandy and Alabama. So I didn't do quite as good in the East region for the first round matchups.
Yeah, not too bad. You just picked all the obvious ones, but
not
too bad. And nothing to be mad about.
Right. And then in the Midwest region, I have Houston against Gonzaga, Clemson and High Point, Texas and Kentucky, UCLA and Tennessee. So, right on the right-hand side of this bracket, not quite as good as the left-hand side of the bracket for me for first-round matchups.
Overall, not a bad first round.
Right. And then, so my Sweet 16.
No, let's do my first round.
Oh, yeah. Let me go. There's Colton's bracket real quick. So we'll go back to mine in a minute whenever we get to like Sweet 16, Elite 8, and then Final Four and Championship. But who do you have in that? Begin with the South region.
All right. So I have Auburn versus Creighton. And then I picked Michigan. Michigan versus A&M. I picked Ole Miss versus Iowa State. and then Marquette versus Michigan State. So I only got one wrong.
Yeah, you just missed. New Mexico beat Marquette.
Yep, which was kind of a toss-up.
Right.
I think I wrote New Mexico at first, and I wrote Marquette and ended up wrong. And then for the next region, I picked Florida, Yukon, Colorado State, Maryland, Missouri, and Texas Tech, and then Kansas and St. John's. So I missed two there. Um, and I thought that St. John's was going to do really good this year. St. John's kind of screwed up or messed up my bracket. So I'm a little mad about that. But other than that, I feel like from that side of the bracket, I think I did well. And moving on to the other side, I got Duke versus Baylor, which was pretty obvious. Oregon, Arizona, BYU, Wisconsin, and then Vandy, Bama. So I only missed Vandy there.
Yeah.
Which, again, you would think the SEC team that has experience beating SEC teams would beat the, strange team that you wouldn't think that would win. But, it's the upsets are always ones that get me.
Right.
And then the other side, I got Houston versus Gonzaga, Clemson versus Purdue, Texas, Kentucky, UCLA, Tennessee. So I only got Clemson and Texas wrong there. I should not have picked Texas to go far because they lost in the first four. And I had them go into the second round.
Clemson got humiliated by McNeese State.
Yeah. Luckily, I didn't think Clemson would do well anyway. In my ESPN bracket, I actually picked Clemson to go to the Final Four. And I was like, that's not going to work. So I took them back out and moved them, had them lose the second round on both brackets. And I'm so happy I did that because that would have been two teams that didn't do anything that I would have had going to the Final Four. So I'm so happy that I moved Clemson to, second round. But
Yeah.
mhm.
All right. So going back to look at the matchups for mine. So for Sweet 16, I picked Auburn to play Texas A&M. So I missed Texas A&M there. Then for some reason I have Iowa State, New Mexico. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Did Michigan State end up winning?
Yeah, Michigan State won that.
Okay. So
I have all the results on mine. So look at it.
In the South region, I only got Auburn right to the Sweet 16. So yeah, not great.
Your bracket fell off real quick.
Yeah. West region, I have Florida against Maryland, and then Missouri and Arkansas. So the only one I got wrong was Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have Duke, Arizona, Wisconsin, and Alabama. So Wisconsin's the only one I missed in the East region to get to the Sweet 16. And then I, for some reason, have Gonzaga and Clemson in that top matchup. And then I have Kentucky and Tennessee. So, I mean...
So, you're kind of half good, half bad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Half empty, half full.
Yeah.
All right. So mine. So I'm actually really proud of my Sweet 16. So I have Auburn, A&M. A&M lost, but I'm fine with that. I wasn't really fully sure on A&M anyway. I have Iowa State, Michigan State. Iowa State lost too, but
they got humiliated by Ole Miss.
Yeah, but again, I should have picked Ole Miss, so I'm not mad at myself.
Right.
Then I have Florida, Maryland. Both of them won. Maryland clutched up. I was so happy.
Yeah, they did.
Derek Queen, really talented right there. Missouri versus St. John's. Again, St. John's really messed up my bracket because I had them going to the Final Four, and they lost second round. But other than that, I'm not too mad. Like this side, the left side of the bracket's not amazing. That's 4 losses. But now the right side didn't miss a single one. So I have Duke, Arizona, BYU, Bama, Houston, Purdue, and Kentucky, Tennessee, all of which are still in.
Wow.
So got lucky there.
All right, real quick, take me through your Elite Eight, Final Four, and National Championship picks.
So I have Auburn versus Michigan State, Elite Eight top. I think Auburn honestly might actually win it, but because they've been playing great. But Michigan State, I'm just desperately hoping ends up beating Ole Miss because Ole Miss looks good too. Then I have Florida and St. John's. So Florida looks good, but I don't want to talk about St. John's anymore. And then I have Duke, Bama, holding out hope for both of them. I could very well see both of them losing here in the Sweet 16 though, because BYU and Arizona are not teams to just write off.
Right.
And then I have Houston and Tennessee. I'm pretty confident about the two of them.
All right, and then Final Four and National Championship.
So Final Four, I have Auburn and St. John's.
Oh boy.
and then Duke and Tennessee.
Okay.
So other than St. John's, my bracket's good if I just never picked St. John's to go
and
to the Final
then
Four.
your national championship winner.
I have Duke versus Auburn, and then Duke winning.
So Duke and Auburn get a rematch, and Duke wins. Okay.
I would if I could, which obviously you can't. If I could, I would swap the winner. I'd make Auburn win, because Duke is. I don't see Duke win. Honestly, if I could, actually, I'd make Arizona beat Duke, and then Arizona go to the championship game, lose to Tennessee, then Auburn, Tennessee, and probably have Auburn win.
Okay.
I feel like that's a more realistic bracket. But at the time doing it, it really looked like, Duke, St. John's were teams to beat. And I was like, oh, Auburn beating St. John's would shock me. But I was like, I'd do it. And then St. John's lost. And now I'm like, I don't know what I was doing, putting St. John's that far. Now it's obvious St. John's wasn't going to do anything. But at the time, it just felt like St. John's was good.
Yeah.
Which clearly was wrong.
So, my Elite Eight through national championship picks. So I have Auburn playing New Mexico in the Elite Eight. Now, granted, New Mexico being a 10 seed, I was thinking, look, I mean, you always got to try to figure out who that Cinderella story is going to be.
Not a lot of Cinderellas this year, though.
It really isn't. I mean, really, if you're thinking about it, Arkansas can really be the Cinderella. But can you really consider them a Cinderella when they played in the best conference in college basketball this season? I don't know. But, New Mexico, I thought they could have done something
maybe Marquette.
Incredible.
Marquette's kind of the closest thing to Cinderella.
So, New Mexico, I had them go to the Elite Eight against Auburn. And then I have Florida and Arkansas. Still could happen, which I think that would be a fun matchup in the Elite Eight. And then I've got Duke and Alabama. And then for some reason I had Gonzaga all the way to the Elite Eight playing Kentucky.
They already lost.
Yeah. So the only two so far that have been eliminated that I have in the Elite Eight is New Mexico and Gonzaga. They both lost in the same round. So, I mean, there's still hope that maybe I could get my Final Four correct and get the national championship correct and the winner. So I'm holding out hope.
The only team I have out of my Elite Eight or my Final Four is St. John's. So
yeah,
kind of messed myself up with that one. Shot myself in the foot.
My Final Four, I've got Auburn taking on Florida, and then I got Alabama and Kentucky. You may be saying SEC homer, but
which is true. You'd be saying the right thing if you say that.
But let's look at the numbers here for a minute. The SEC has 7 teams going to the Sweet 16. 7 of the 16 teams are SEC. When you look at that, that's almost half of the field
that's
left.
Half. That's half minus 1.
Right. So here's what I'm saying. It is not crazy to assume you could have an all SEC Final Four in San Antonio, Texas.
It's not crazy to assume, but it's not really something you would expect. But
So I got Auburn and Alabama taking each other on one more time in the national championship game.
But you do realize
then Alabama is your national champion.
The only way
of college basketball for the first time in program history. Both, and one thing I will say before he gets into his thoughts. Auburn and Alabama both. They've been to the Final Four only one time each. But both of them have not won a national championship or even played for a national championship in college basketball. So, if you have Auburn, Alabama for the national championship game, I think that would be an incredible matchup in San Antonio, Texas on Monday, April 7th. Colton.
So you're betting on Alabama, Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, Florida, and Auburn. You're betting all of those teams, or at least one of each side of those teams will win. That's kind of crazy. Bama, Bama I do have in my Elite Eight. Bama's not beating Duke or Arizona. It's not happening. Let's see. If Tennessee loses to Kentucky, Kentucky's getting destroyed by Houston or Purdue. So that's not happening. Okay, I'll give you Florida. Now that St. John's out of the way, Florida's probably going to go to the Elite Eight, and watch me jinx it there. And then I'll give you Auburn. But unless Bama clutches up and beats Duke or Arizona, I don't see that happening. And then Tennessee will beat Houston or Purdue, I think. But if Kentucky somehow beats Oh, Tennessee. Kentucky's not going to the Final Four, so we'll see.
I will say
I
this
don't really
though,
believe in it though.
Alabama, which I think, personally speaking, I don't think they're the best defensive basketball team.
They're not.
But I think,
They're not even the best
and I think
shooting.
what you've seen throughout this tournament so far in these first two games, when Grant Nelson is out on the floor, he's the biggest difference maker for Alabama. And if you remember that Robert Morris game, it was like a 1-2 point game, midway through the second half of the ball game. Grant Nelson comes in the ball game. He hadn't played all game, and they pull it out to like a 13-point lead on Robert Morris. So here's what I'm saying. If you have a healthy Grant Nelson, if you have Mark Sears playing at a high level, I feel like Alabama's going to be hard to beat. And I feel like Duke, which this is my concern. Yes, they ran away with both games so far in the tournament. But when it comes time to play Arizona and then possibly play Alabama in the Elite Eight, how is that going to go in those matchups? I feel like it's going to be a lot closer than what you think it is. And will Duke be ready for someone like Arizona or Alabama? I'm just curious.
I agree. And really, that's why I said I'm not really sure about Duke. But, like, if Cooper Flag plays how Cooper Flag should play, no one's beating Duke. But
Right.
you can say the same thing a couple years ago with Zion. If Zion played how Zion was going to play, Duke would have won. But he didn't. Zion played well, if I remember, but Zion wasn't really the best player on that team during the tournament at least. So, I don't know. It just depends on how Duke stars play. Because Duke has, what's the other guy's name? A weird name. Is it
Kneppel?
Kneppel, yeah. If he plays well, he could be better than Cooper Flag. I mean, I don't know, but
Right.
I just find it interesting that the teams that I picked to go to the championship game, both teams I'm not confident in anymore. I mean, I'm more confident in Auburn, but the more I look at it, I'm like, I should have picked Florida, and then
Right.
Duke, I'm like, I should have picked them losing Arizona and have Arizona or Bama in there, although I don't really believe in Bama. But you see what I'm saying? I'm just like, I've lost my confidence in both the teams I had winning, which is kind of funny. But I still, I'm still gonna say that I think they're gonna win, but I'm not 100% sure,
Right. So that's our bracket so far. You know, so out of the teams that are remaining, because I believe in the Sweet 16 you got Auburn taking on Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Ole Miss and Michigan State.
Yes.
You have Florida, Maryland. You got Texas Tech and Arkansas. You got Houston and Kentucky, or not Kentucky, Houston and Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have Kentucky, Tennessee, BYU, Alabama, Duke, Arizona. So I would ask you this: out of all those matchups that we're going to see in Sweet 16 beginning Thursday, who would be like the team that you think is like the one nobody's talking about that could potentially win it all?
BYU. BYU has a great coach, ton of talent, and even with all that, people are like, "Oh, next year BYU is gonna be crazy because they're getting what's his name, the number one guy, kind of the Cooper Flag next year, who's not really that good." But no one really realizes that BYU very well could beat Bama. And if they beat Bama, I mean, like I said, I'm not 100% confident in Duke.
Right.
And if Bama, if you can beat Bama, you can beat Duke.
Right.
Similar systems. All you got to do is get past Cooper Flag and Constantinople. That's all you got to do. So BYU has an easier path, at least, and a lot of talent to do it. Another one I feel like people really aren't really giving enough credit is Michigan. I mean, I picked Michigan to lose second round, and Michigan didn't do anything. So we'll see. I wouldn't be shocked if Ole Miss goes far either.
That's what I was going to say. I think if there's a team that I think nobody's really talking about that's really dominated and looked really good as Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I will say they almost let North Carolina slip back in there and win the game.
North Carolina wasn't going to do anything.
But they found a way to win the game. And then the way they pounded Iowa State. Now, granted, Iowa State, they had a lot of players that were hurt. But it was impressive to see an Iowa State team who, I mean, early in the season, they were like up there, like top three, one of the top three schools in the rank in the AP at, back around January and February. So, to see how far Iowa State fell from that point on, it's pretty impressive to see how Ole Miss played that game. Because they dominated Iowa State. There's no way to, no other way to put it.
I agree.
I'm
still mad about St. John's, though.
Another interesting note, which I've been saying this all weekend long, but I'm going to say it one more time. Arkansas, first-year head coach, John Calipari.
Overrated.
Okay, but who does Arkansas play in the first round? They have Kansas.
Easy.
Who's head coach of Kansas? Bill Self. John Calipari and the Razorbacks beat Bill Self and the Kansas Jayhawks.
I should have saw that coming. That was obvious.
Then, second round, they had St. John's. Who's head coach of St. John's?
Don't want to
Rick
talk about it.
Pitino. So John Calipari, to make it to the Sweet 16 against Texas Tech, he had to go through Bill Self in Kansas and then Rick Pitino in St. John's. I think that's pretty cool to think about, that John Calipari took down two of the greatest coaches in college basketball at the moment to get to the Sweet 16.
But who are they playing now? Tech?
Texas Tech.
Who's their coach?
Who is their coach?
Exactly. So you can't really use that comparison. Oh, he's beating all the best coaches. You can't really say that because Texas Tech, no one's heard of their coach. I mean, it might be.
Here could be something really cool, though.
What?
This could be the last non-SEC game, potentially, that they play.
Mm-hmm.
Because they could potentially go play Florida, beat Florida, potentially go play Auburn, beat them, and then go to the national championship game and play either Alabama or Kentucky or Tennessee. So,
and get their butts whooped.
But hey, I mean, if you're Arkansas,
what if they play Kentucky and then they get Calipari gets their butt
Calipari gets Kentucky in the championship? That would be crazy. No wonder why the committee decided to do this, to put Kentucky in the Midwest region, put Arkansas in the West region, so that they could potentially match up in the national championship game in San Antonio. I mean, that'd be crazy.
That'd be interesting. Where did Arkansas's old coach go?
Musselman.
Uh-huh.
He went to USC.
And they're not in the bracket.
They're not. Yeah.
Well, that's how you ruin it.
But do remember, though, Arkansas, the past few years, they've been very, very lowly seeded. Mm-hmm. They found a way to.
Were they Elite Eight last year?
Not last year, but I think the year before that they went to the Elite Eight.
They're always decent.
Arkansas has been known for, like, I don't think they're like a blue-blooded college basketball, but they really have been one of those teams that gets to the tournament and makes a pretty good run at it. So, it's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But, anything else, Colton, you want to talk about with this bracket?
When are we going to do the women's?
I don't know. When do you want to do the women's bracket? You want to do it next week?
Sure.
Okay. Well, I guess we will have to look at a women's bracket, and because we didn't really...
I picked one.
You picked one? Okay, I'll bring you on and let you talk about your picks. I literally have no idea because I haven't watched a lick of the women's tournament. I'm just being honest.
It's sad.
I mean, I've been busy doing stuff, but like men's tournament's the one I've been watching.
Yep.
Either way. So, Colton, I guess we'll talk to each other next week here on the channel and I guess talk about the women's tournament.
Maybe.
All right. Well, folks, that is pretty much all I've got here for tonight. But yeah, we'll update you on how our brackets are going. Also, some updates on the channel. Plans are Wednesday to get the John Adams presidential video out. So you can be looking for that Wednesday, 8 o'clock, right here, Saber Broadcast Network. And then Friday, I recorded my Bible study video. So that should premiere about 7, 8 o'clock on Friday night, so that you can watch that. It's only 18 minutes long, so it's not long. If you want to check that out Friday, that's when I'm planning to post. But either way, so that's pretty much all I've got here for tonight. And so we'll be back later for another live stream next week. So thanks for watching, everybody. We will talk again later. Good night, everybody.